No, I asked you earlier indicators. Would you be able to give a couple indicators to say, here could be some indicators of like, hey, this kid's extremely curious. That's one of 7 indicators of success.
Yes.
What are some things you would say?
Okay, so what I would say, to get mathematical on you, why don't we think of each of these features of a person as dimensions of a hypercube? Okay. Okay. Oh, you pulling out your notes here?
Yeah, I'm taking notes.
We're both going to write down what a hypercube is.
Okay, so all right, so we can start. What is the measure of a line? Well, it's just its length, and there's no other metric.
Sure.
Most measures we have of people are just this one-dimensional thing. Are you higher on that, or are you lower on that? Okay. Any exam is a one-dimensional measure of people who take the exam. Let's add another coordinate. So that's an x-axis. Let's add a y-axis. And now the measure of 2 lines is a square. There's no such thing as the length of 2 perpendicular lines. But what the 2 perpendicular lines do is trace out an area, which would be the area of a square. So now we can say, let's say there are 2 things about you. How good are your grades and how sociable are you? Those are otherwise not correlated. So now I can calculate an area for you. All right. Well, maybe some other things matter. Maybe some other things. How about ambition? That would be a 3rd coordinate. Now I'm not measuring your length or your area. I'm measuring your volume. And now let's add a 4th coordinate. So it's what we have. What do we have? We had
linear.
The linear. Your grades, your social skills, your ambition, and how about here's one which wouldn't necessarily be the other 3. Your capacity to recover from failure.
Ooh,
okay.
Shit, that's
so now I have 4 dimensions. This could go higher, but I have 4 dimensions. What's the quote hypervolume of the 4 dimensions? You multiply all 4 of those measures, and then you have a volume. And I would say that the success of somebody is not where they are on any one-dimensional scale. They're where they are in this hypervolume. And they could be less on one and more on another, but all that volume is a dynamic place. And what you'd want to do is maximize that volume before you hire somebody. It would be a hypervolume.
I love that.
By the way, you can choose your mate the same way. Are they good looking? Does it matter? Okay. But if you only choose them only because they're good looking, and then one day they get older and less good looking, does that mean you're going to love them less? Yes, it will mean that if that's the only reason why you got together.
Which happens many times.
What happens many times. Okay. Do you want them also for their money? It sounds shallow, but that's not any more shallow than liking someone for their beauty. It's just another thing. So might they one day lose their money? That's possible, unless it's deep family money. But okay. And how about, do they have a sense of humor? Are they ambitious? There's a volume. And then you can put everybody and scale it from 0 to 10 on each of those, right? Multiply it out, you have a volume. Now you can take all your mates, potential mates, scale them this way, and what happens is, because you're multiplying this out, they end up spreading hugely on a scale. And it becomes obvious who the best one is at that point. Obvious. We did this when we were looking for a home. We was like, okay, is it affordable? Is it nearby work? Is all the appliances new? Do you like the neighborhood? These are coordinates. Judge it from 0 to 10. By the way, if any coordinate is 0, everything drops out because you're multiplying. All right. So if it's 0 on any of these coordinates, keep moving. There's nothing there. Okay. No matter how good anything else looks to you. All right. Then give it a 1. Fine. All right, so there we are. Oh, and then you can throw in a category called intangibles. It just feels right to me. That's allowed.
Yeah, I'm writing it down.
This is allowed. So let that be an extra coordinate there. Then, okay, multiply it out as you go to each one. That's how we chose the home to buy, my wife and I. And by the way, it's also how I decided that my wife was like the right person for me. I looked at all the coordinates of what I valued in a mate, and we've been married 34 years.